On this week's episode at Nutrition's My Life, we are talking about your relationship with food. And this came up because so many of y'all are struggling with your relationship with food. We don't trust it. We don't understand why some people can cut calories and lose weight. We don't understand why some people can eat everything but the kitchen sink and not gain weight. We have all of this pressure from us, from ourselves, from our peers, from our parents even. And this is something that can be really detrimental to our health long-term. And the reason why it's detrimental is not because like, oh, I don't trust food. Oh, I shouldn't eat that. Is I don't know how many people have come to me because they now have health issues, right? So they now have a thyroid disorder, they now have PCOS, gut issues, severe crippling anxiety, migraines, all the stuff kind of going on. And they're like, I'm doing all the diets. I've tried keto, I've tried vegan, I've tried that Noom, I've tried all these things, right? I've tried it all. Some of the stuff worked, but then I gained it right back when after I stopped. How do I know what's right for me when food doesn't really, isn't really there for me? If I don't really trust that my body's going to respond to it the way I want it to. And so this is what today's episode is all about, is just first at recognizing and acknowledging the barriers there for like your relationship with your food, with yourself, with your body. And then we're going to talk some action steps to actually help you kind of get over this little hump. And so you can have a little bit more smooth sailing. I always tell my clients when they get on the phone with me, I offer like a free 20-minute session for everyone. Y'all get one free one. And I always tell them that I love my clients, but I don't want them to come back to me because I'm not doing my job. And part of my job is empowering you to understand how food works for you in a way that you feel comfortable and confident and empowered to make further decisions later on in life. So that way you don't end up where you're at right now. So that you don't have to go on this like ebb and flow, up and down chaos of a roller coaster ride that you're on. So we're going to start talking about those barriers, and we're going to start looking for some action steps so that way you can see what's been going on. And that way we can actually have this path now of knowing what to do. So if y'all are excited, let's dive in, shall we? So some of the barriers I see in my practice, and I'm sure there are way more out there, but this is just something that I've seen over the 15 years of being a registered dietitian. Some of the things that we're going to find are like our parents. Sometimes our parents are the reason why we actually don't have a good relationship with food. Our parents are the reason why we don't trust our body to respond to food in a positive way. Our parents sometimes are the reason why we have, these negative thoughts about ourselves, and we don't like the way we look, or we have these expectations and we think that we should look a certain way, right? And so sometimes we have to acknowledge and like let ourselves know, like, those thoughts that I have about myself are not my own. Right? Some of those thoughts are not my own. Because sometimes what happens, I've had people tell me that their parents, their mom, and it usually is the mom. And I think that's because of the diet culture in general. And I have heard men say stuff, but this is just, again, this is what I hear from my clients, that it's usually their mom that's having a hard time. Like the parent is having a hard time with food themselves. They are doing these yo-yo diets, crash diets, like back in the day, right? It was always like the South Beach diet. We did low carb everything. And it was just like, right. All you would hear is like, man, I can't have that. I shouldn't be eating that. Gosh, it's just like a cheat day. I guess I'll just count that as my cheat day, right? And so then we start realizing, like, what is mom doing? Like, why isn't she eating all the same things that she's making for us? Like, and we start realizing, okay, mom, something's going on with mom. I've had someone say that they actually have trauma. Those are her words. I have trauma with my relationship with food because of my mom's dieting. So just think about that, like how you are right now, as if you're a parent for your young kids, like the impact stuff like that could be happening, right? If you're on your your health journey, doing things, trying to be better and doing all these things. And you're like saying these words and you're saying like, you're down on yourself, or you're pinching yourself and you're not liking things. Right. And if you have little eyes on you, they're a freaking sponge. They're going to soak up everything. Monkey see, monkey do. So if they see you looking in the mirror, sucking in your stomach, if they see and notice or hear someone talk about, I need to go on a diet, or I need to lose weight, and they're looking at you like, but you're beautiful, why would you ever say anything like that? Right. I know I remember hearing that from my mom and just thinking, gosh, you are beautiful. I remember my mom also talking about like, my mom's maiden name is Mitchell. And so we always say it's the Mitchell curse, that they get really, really bad, big bags under their eyes. And I'm like, I think it's beautiful because I love you, and that is who you are. That is who grandpa is. That is who your sister is. That is who your other sisters. There's many kids in that. My mom's one of five. And so there's just, like, I mean, that is the Mitchell eye. Those are the Mitchell eyes. And then you're over here like, I don't like this. I don't like what's happening. And then I'm over here going like, but you look gorgeous. And so this is something that we just always have in our heads, that we could be better. We could look better, right? That we have to be careful about what's coming out of our mouths. And so just be aware that some of the thoughts that you have for yourself are likely not your own. Okay. So we're going to go over some of these like hacks here in just a little bit of how to kind of rewire ourselves to help out with that. Sometimes it's the adults that and maybe it's not a parent, right? I know when I played soccer, and y'all, if you have any of your own experiences, please comment, let us know below what's been going on. I want to be there for you to like say like, hey, you're not the only one that's been through through some of these things, right? So I remember when I was in high school at some point, maybe sophomore year, freshman year in high school, if not 8th grade. I remember being on the soccer field, chesting a soccer ball it came at me, right? You chest it to have the ball come to your feet. And so I chested the ball, brought it down to my feet, and I hear one of the moms on the sideline go, well, she's going to be flat forever. And I am like in mid like stride hearing this mom talk about how flat chested I am. And y'all, guess what happened for many, many years? I was so self-conscious about not having like breast. I also had my peers telling me in high school how strong and muscular I was. And then they like nicknamed me the man. My body holds muscle really, really well. And as an adult, I am like freaking proud of that. But as a younger kid who was going through all of these emotions, right, learning who I am and everything, I didn't feel feminine. And it took me years and years and years to feel feminine. And I had to accept myself as, dude, I'm a tomboy. I enjoy wearing like baggy pants. I enjoy wearing all of this. So one of the things that we're not going to do is just have this negative self-talk about us from listening to what someone else said. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. They do hurt us. And so like, it takes some time to actually come through and work through all of this. And like I said, I'm going to give you some action steps here in just a minute. I just wanted to go through some of the other barriers that might be happening. Some of the other adults that might be, like I said, this is my personal experience, but maybe you can relate to some of these things. And I also had a soccer coach in college told us the reason why we were losing was because we were too overweight, right? You're too fat. That is why were losing. At halftime. That's the time that he chose to say that to all of us. And so then we had to get our body fat measured. We then had to, if we were over a certain percentage, we had to work out burn an extra 500 calories 3 times a week on top of our 2-a-day practices. Let me tell you how many disordered eating or eating disorders came from that. I know my household that I was in definitely had a short bout of it, and thank goodness we were all like, this is not for us. And we just did our thing. But there were many times where I felt guilty eating the large amount that I was eating and looking over at some of my friends who didn't play soccer. And I'm like, no joke, I'm fat because I'm just like eating like a freaking cow over here. And I'm thinking that, but like reflecting back on it, it's like, no, Nicole, you were doing 2 practices plus running, or doing the elliptical or something like that. So you really were working out 3 times a day. No wonder you were eating so much, right? And no wonder your thyroid went ape shit after that. But there's other things, other barriers like social media, right? We have all these freaking filters out there, all these filters that are showing us how to make our face shape look better, how to make our lips look bigger, how to make our eyes look bigger and wider, right? And then we have all these makeup tutorials that are teaching us that you have to look this way, you have to do it that way. And it's like, who told us that we had to, right? Like, who is coming up with these standards? Who are saying that is what pretty is? If y'all listen to me on my podcast, I have little freaking like Leia buns, Princess Leia buns in my hair right now because it made me happy, because that's how I felt like it. And I'm going to get like shit from my kids, or someone's going to say something. But what I'm trying to teach my kids is, no matter what anyone else says, if you're happy and you're proud of who you are, that's all that matters. And so like my son the other day was like, I packed him this, I just found some old bags that we had in our move. And I was like, ooh, I got to use these like Ziploc bag. Instead of the Ziploc baggies, they were like they were like wax paper with apples on it. And he was like, Mom, I'm going to be so embarrassed. I don't want to use this. And so at 7 years of age, I'm trying to teach him that like, what would be the worst thing if someone else saw that? I don't know. They could make fun of me. Okay. And if they make fun of you, how is that going to make you feel? Not good. Well, why? Because they have no right to make you feel a certain way. You are in control of that. And if they're making you feel a certain way of it, you have every right to stand up for yourself and say, hey, no, I enjoy apples. They're good fruit, right? I enjoy these, right? And just teaching and starting to learn that like, hey, like, again, that sticks and stones or break my bones type of thing. But we have to start to learn that like, there has to be this like wall that we have to put up sometimes, so that way people aren't like knocking us down. And I don't want to say maybe wall isn't right, the right terminology. Let me like rephrase that. Back up. Sometimes we need to practice self-love enough to know that no matter what's going on, you know who you are. Right? I know who I am. I know that I love to garden. I know that I'm quirky. I know that I love nutrition and love food. I know that I love wearing clothes from like the 70s. I love wearing like sporty stuff. I know that I enjoy going in the garden and picking weeds. I know I enjoy being outside much more than I would going shopping and getting some clothes. I love thrift stores. I love Salvation Army. I love finding like little hidden gems and like scoring my deals, because that's who I am. No one else has to understand that. No one else has to agree with it, but I am freaking confident in who I am as a person. And it didn't just happen overnight, right? Like you heard my stories. Like I was called man. I was even paraded around where they put me on top. These are peers. My soccer player friends and basketball and volleyball, we all had the same, right? In high school, the same locker room. They put me, when I was getting changed, because again, I was very muscular. They put me on a chair in my underwear. I had my sports bra on, my underwear on, and they put on the song Du Hast from Rammstein. And it was just like beast type of thing. I was put outside. I mean, I was totally hazed multiple times just because of the way my body looked. And I know now was because more than likely those girls were jealous of my muscle and my ability to not carry my weight in a certain way. But back then I didn't know. I was just like, my friends are teasing me. My friends are, making fun of me. And for years I hated the fact that I didn't have hips, right? I hated the fact. And I would look at people and just be like, you have such beautiful curves. You have beautiful curves. And I was so jealous of people, curvaceous like women. And it was just so sad that I never had that until I started learning what I needed to do. And so this is where we're going to start talking about more of these action steps to kind of learn that self-love and learn a way to like not have put those like blinders on, so that way you can continue doing the things that you enjoy and things that make you feel good. And then eventually, you'll find the body that you're meant to be in. And what I mean by that is we have to learn to love ourselves at all sizes. And so sometimes it's harder to do when you're on that weight loss journey. When you're like, okay, I have 20, 30 pounds that I want to get off of me, or I have 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 60 pounds that I want to get off of me. If I don't feel good about myself, I don't feel good. How do I love myself when I don't feel good, right? And I don't like the way I look. I don't feel confident. I don't feel sexy. And that goes back into, we have to like tackle more up here, up in our beautiful brain than we do actually in our nutrition and our fitness. Yes, that is important, 100%, 100%. But when we're on this journey, what's going to get you the most results, and it's going to happen long term, where you don't have to like do this yo-yo dieting coming back, is all that self-love, is learning to love yourself at all stages, at all phases of your health journey. So when we talk about loving yourself at every step, some of the things that I had to do with myself, and this is some of the things that some of my clients end up doing as well, but it is like naked mirror work. And I know that sounds so crazy, but like, hear me out here. So I mentioned earlier that I was never voluptuous up top, right? That was never my gift. My mom did not pass that down to me. Skipped me and went all to my younger sister. And and that's our joke. It skipped me and went to my younger sister. But some of the things that totally played with my mind was breastfeeding, right? I breastfed both my kids, my daughter for 13 months, my son for 14 months. So I got to experience what it was like to have a full chest. And then once I stopped, it was like ski slopes, like, what happened? What happened there? Right? Like, I was like, that's not right. And so I was so self-conscious about it. I was looking at people that had breast implants and been like, oh, should I go down that route? Should that be something that I do? I don't know. And then I have self-conscious about my nose. We have some Jewish nose happening over here. And I got teased about that when I was younger, right? And so some of the things that I started to do when I was on my health journey was starting to stand in front of the mirror and say, I am so happy and grateful now that my body is where it should be. I'm so happy and grateful now that I accept all of me. I am so happy and grateful now that I love my breasts. I am so happy and so grateful now that my nose reminds me where my family came from. I am so happy and grateful and just continue to do that. Many times there were tears that came down because I didn't believe those words initially. And it was a lot of hard work, a lot of journaling, and I suck at journaling, but I made a priority when I was going through those hardest times. And just to be okay with my body. And then I started being like, well, what are some of the benefits about being small chested, right? What are some of the benefits of that? I can not wear a bra and some people won't notice, right? I don't have pain in my shoulders and my back. I can, find clothes that fit me decently, easy without me having to try them on. And so I started rewriting my story, right? I kind of took, okay, this is what was my old story, and I started rewriting it. And I retold my story about all the benefits that my body can provide me, right? And I just started just like over repetition, 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 right? Because how do we learn our best, right? Repetition. Our bodies, I mean, our brains work the best with our bodies too, right? It's like riding a bike eventually. You just like, you don't remember that you're doing it. It just starts happening. And it's very hard in the beginning. And I'm not going to like sugarcoat shit. Like it was super hard to get to a point where, my biggest demon has always been my anxiety. But that's not the same as what we're talking about right here, as far as improving your relationship with food in our body. Mostly body. I haven't talked much about food. We'll get there. um, but my biggest demon was always my anxiety, and so that's where I did a lot of that work on, and that internal stuff. And it's the same thing. You just can't see my demon. Some people's demons you can see. My demon kind of is quiet and kind of hangs out sometimes. And so it was one of those things that I really had to just emerge myself. I had to unfollow a lot of people on social media that triggered me. I had to stop listening to the news and worrying about what was happening outside of me. I started constantly just putting good in. So that was, if I was in the car, I was listening to like Abraham Hicks. If I was doing my dishes, I was listening to like Tony Robbins. If I was, doing some yard work, I had Simon Sinek in here. I just always was like, who else can I put in, to learn from, to take these tools and to realize that I am like, it's a great day, right? And that's one of the Abraham, y'all. I absolutely love Abraham Hicks. She's someone that she's got to be like late 50s, early 60s. She just, I don't know, I resonate with her. And that's what I want you to find, is someone that you can resonate with and just you click with, and you're just like, oh, that's awesome. Like, yes, I like what you're saying. So I even went to one of her conferences. And again, this is not for anything other than me understanding who I am, me understanding my anxiety. I even went to a couple brain health conferences to understand my anxiety, to understand my fear of getting Alzheimer's, because that's how a lot of people in my family have passed away from. And so it's just something that I just really just kind of just dove in and threw myself in and started just to look for, well, what makes me happy? That right there changed everything. Once I started doing okay, well, no, what makes you happy? Let's just start doing more of the things that make you happy. If we can get more endorphins, we're going to start to feel better about ourselves, right? And we're going to start doing all these things. So I got rollerblades and I started rollerblading because I couldn't run anymore. I started riding my bike on trails. I started doing all these things that I knew helped relieve my anxiety. And part of the story that kind of totally didn't like put into this time was, I'm bone on bone in my knee. And so part of the reason why my anxiety like went through the roof shortly after is because running was my like time to like free my mind to do everything. And then it was like my identity was taken from me. When I was told, if you keep running, you're going to have a total knee replacement by the time you're 30. And I was like, shit, I don't want that. And then, or maybe he said by the time you're 40, I think it was 40. Either way, I'll be 40 in 3 years, and knock on wood, it is not happening anytime soon. I'm doing well with it. But some of the things we want to start doing now is starting to correlate. Now, okay, now let's like pivot a little bit, and we'll start talking a little bit more about food, the relationship with food, now that we start understanding all the things that we can do for loving ourselves and loving our body, right? So when we start to improve our relationship with food, so okay, that first step is loving ourselves, and loving ourselves at all steps, all stages. And then we're going to start to learn more about how to integrate more of those healthy foods in a way that's not going to like start stemming anxiety and causing anxiety to come out. We're going to start to start to learn how to trust food again and know that it's there to support you. And so some of the things that I really encourage my clients to do is first, like, check in with themselves before they eat, right? So how am I? Am I anxious? Am I rushed? Am I overwhelmed? Am I happy? Am I giddy? Am I stressed, angry? Like, what's going on with you at that time? If it's anything other than like content or happiness, that is not the time to eat. That is the time to like be like, hey, something's off. I need to get myself back down to baseline. I need to like kind of recalibrate myself, right? And the reason why is because if you're stuck in your fight or flight response, that food's not going to work for you that well. And I want you to get the most benefits out of that food, right? And so I don't want you to get bloated afterwards and discomfort and all that thing. So we're going to first check in with ourselves, make sure that we are doing well. And then after we eat, we're also going to then check in with ourselves 30 minutes, an hour and a half later, and kind of just see like, how'd that make me feel? Did I feel good with it? Did I have more energy, or did it make me feel tired? Did I have great digestion, no issues, or did I get really bloated and just get the like rumbling and ooey's and all that stuff kind of happening? What ended up happening after you ate that? And so you can start to correlate then, like, okay, well, I had just a salad and some protein, but after an hour and a half, like I was starving, right? I was like so hungry. And so we can say, okay, well, I ate well and healthy, but maybe I need to add a carb source. Maybe I need to add a little bit of healthy fat into that food. And the next time I do that, then we can check in and be like, hey, look, remember how hungry I was when I had that salad with just the chicken on top? Even though it's tons of veggies, it didn't have my enough carbs. So I added some croutons, or I had some chips on the side, or I had some potatoes on it, or I did some more root veggies instead, or added some fruit on top. And then I added in some sunflower seeds or some avocado, or actually added dressing this time instead of eating it dry. And I feel a little bit better now that I added some of those things in there, right? I feel like I have a little bit more energy and I feel better about it. So I think I'm actually doing pretty good with that. So that way we can start to understand, okay, I can still eat my chips, and I can have ice cream, and I can do all these things, but I need to do it in a way where the food's going to make me feel better. And that was actually someone recently was commenting on one of my TikTok videos, and she was like, because it was me talking about like, hey, parents, do not comment on your child's weight, whether they are underweight or overweight. We want to be careful about the way that we're presenting ourselves in front of our kids. We're not going to be talking about the diet that we're on. And then we're also not going to talking about our kids as an adult and rubbing their belly, patting their belly, saying like, what are you doing here? Right. Like, and just, oh, but I'm just joking around. Right. So I had a mom apparently say like, hey, my, like, what am I supposed to tell my kids then? Well, same thing that we're going to tell ourselves, that all foods fit, all foods fit, that you can have Cheez-Its, you can have chips, you can have ice cream, but I want you to, like, some foods are going to make you feel like a lot of energy, but then they're going to make you feel like not so hot soon after that, right? You're going to feel fine just for a little bit, but then you might kind of crash and burn if that's all you have is just candy. It tastes good, but you're going to be pretty hungry afterwards, or you might get a tummy ache. But also at the same time of just having more of the foods on hand that make you feel better, right? The apples, the oranges, the nuts, the seeds, some higher fiber cereals, and some cheese, whatever it is, and having those foods on hand and being like, okay, like, and offering those more often. And then also as a parent, we're going to be eating the foods that make us feel good more often. So monkey see, monkey do, right? And so they're going to see you eating all those foods. They're going to do all this. And so we start to now then correlate that, like, hey, this entire family here can be on the same track, and we can all have goals, and the kids can have some Cheez-Its with their raspberries, right? So yesterday, let's just like kind of let you know, like yesterday for my son's lunch, we had some chicken nuggets. So I I put some in the toaster oven real quick and had it put in a container for him for school. Then on the side, so he had like 5 chicken nuggets, and then he had a thing full of raspberries and some carrots, and that's all he wanted. But he had yeah, he had chicken nuggets, but he also got eat raspberries and carrots, right? So just showing them that all foods can fit, right? Sometimes we're going to have salmon, sometimes we're going to have broccoli and stuff, and sometimes we're going to have a burger. And some of the things that we do too is like we make a lot of these foods from home. So we're going to make our French fries in the air fryer, and then we're going to leave some out so the kids can eat some and like score, mom win, right? They eat their veggies, and you're like, sweet, you think it's just French fries, and here you are doing all this. So a lot of this is also just knowing that we don't have to do this all or nothing mindset. And I think that that's what social media makes us think that we have to, right? Like we have to, like, you cannot, like, I don't know how many times I've seen someone who's educated, say, stop eating all that crap. You have to cut out all the sugar. You have to cut out all the dairy. You have to do all of that. And what does that do? That puts you into this little box, that like this little box container. And you're like, what, I can only eat what's in this box. And if I eat something that's outside of this, like my no-nos, then I'm bad. I did something really wrong. I should not have done that. And what does it do? It's like you're telling like the kids, like when they're growing up, right? Don't go touch that like light socket or the outlet. Don't put your finger in that. Don't do it. And like, what are they going to do? First chance they get, they're going to go crawl over there and put their finger into that little socket, right? If we tell ourselves, no, we can't have something, no, we can't do that, it is in our nature to be like, are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure I can do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then you do it and then you overdo it. And then you're just like, I feel so guilty. Why did I do this? Right? Or we could just say, I can have all of these foods I want, but today I'm just choosing not. Or I can have these foods and thank goodness I'm eating some of these others so I don't feel like crud. And I'm totally here to tell you that like I enjoy having a glass of wine. I enjoy my barbecue. I enjoy going out and having some fried pickles and doing all of that. But if I do that all at once and it's just back to back to back to back, like it was this past weekend for my husband's birthday when his family came into town, there was just a lot of that and it wasn't enough of the anti-inflammatory food. So guess what happened? Nicole went inflamed. I had some massive issues and I was just like, I knew better. I knew better than that. And it's not to say that I won't ever then eat any fried pickles ever again, but I'm going to make sure that I'm also choosing some other foods on the menu that are going to make me feel better, right? And that was just one of those reminders of, oh, Nicole, you're not invincible. You are a health warrior. And so it just kind of using those as your kind of your guidance, your compass tools, right? We also tell alcoholics not to. This is someone on TikTok. We're addicted to some foods and sugar. Sometimes some of us, yeah, absolutely. Some of us are addicted to those. And what I end up finding with that, can we just kind of like expand on that a little bit more? Is if you feel like you are a sugar addict and you are like, dude, I just have to have, that's all I'm craving. I want you to reflect and be like, did I feed myself enough? Did I simply feed myself enough? And that is the number one thing that my clients will do is like they will have coffee or skip, or maybe they'll just have water in the morning and they skip breakfast, or they have a couple handful of grapes or something like that, right? And then you end up like having just very sticky snacky foods or just incomplete lunch. And then you're wondering like, why am I craving this bag of M&Ms? Why do I want all the sour straws in the world? I can't stop with this ice cream. Like I just feel so bad about it. Like I have no self-control, but in reality, your body's just like, you didn't feed me. And it's just like wanting you to feed it. So really we have to kind of get ahead of this. And yes, we understand that sugar has, the capability of like lighting up the same receptors in our brain as, other addictive substances, but it's not quite the same. We have the ability to kind of help it out. And the good thing too, the good thing with the sugar addiction and everything is that the more you kind of crowd out the bad with the good in the sense, you don't crave it that much either. So many of my clients tell me over and over again that, hey, since I've been feeding myself a little bit more, since I've been doing all these things, I'm not actually craving it all that much. Since I've repopulated my healthy bacteria in my gut, I'm really not craving a lot of these things, right? So this is why fiber is important. This is why stress reduction is important. We know that if you're not sleeping well, you do have a higher increase of having more sugary beverages and sugary foods throughout the day, right? There's a method to my madness of always talking about sleep. It's not just for inflammation reduction. There's so many other benefits of it. And so, yeah, if we want to tackle all of these things, we have to realize that we're not just like this linear being, that we have all of these different like I like to think of it like puzzle pieces to ourselves. And so if we are only putting like that, the food is the only thing that I have control over. And if I mess that up, I'm horrible. If we put all that pressure on us, we're missing out. The big thing here is that we have all these other puzzle pieces: our sleep, our laughter, our like uh, I don't know what else, exercise, right? Spices. There's all these other tools that we can use: the box breathing, the jumping up and down. There's listening to all the amazing things, meditation, essential oils, right? There's so many tools out there to kind of help bring us back to where we need to be. So don't just put so much pressure on yourself to say, hey, food is the only thing. And if I'm eating healthy and then my labs are off, I must have eaten something wrong. Or if I'm eating healthy and my weight hasn't budged, I must be doing something wrong. More than likely, you're not doing anything wrong at all. It's more what I typically see is that you more than likely it's a good foundation of what you've built. We just need to keep building upon that foundation. So don't think that you've done anything horrible or wrong or anything like that. It's simply the fact that you just haven't found all the tools yet that your body is needing. So we have to allow ourselves to have some of those foods. We have to allow ourselves to have days of crying and being okay with it. We don't need to be this like heroic, like suck it up, like sweep it under the rug kind of person. And I think that that's what so many health warriors do, right? Because if I talk about my head hurting again, or if I talk about my exhaustion, people are going to just be like, dude, she's a freaking hypochondriac, right? I totally understand it, right? I have multiple health issues. You know how many times I've been told, are you sure it's not just your anxiety? No, it's not. I have half a thyroid. I have PCOS. I have a history of migraines. I have Raynaud's phenomenon. I have multiple health issues. Okay. Thanks though. So just being like to accept all the health issues that you do have, and just know that like, hey, like you might not be the same person you were before all these health issues like came up, but you can be a freaking amazing version of yourself, even with all those health issues. And so just know that you're doing a really good job. You are putting the effort in. And if you're not seeing results that you're wanting to see, give yourself grace. Just know that like, hey, it'll come in time, and maybe that's not what I was meant to do yet. Maybe first, before that weight was supposed to come off, maybe I was meant to learn to love myself again, right? Maybe before that weight was supposed to come off, maybe I was meant to process everything, work through stuff. I have a client who she wrote letters to her family members. This is something I've talked about on my podcast previously, but wrote letters to her family. And that way she could say like that had wronged her, right? That had caused some sort of angst, anguish inside of her, and worked on repairing her relationships. She started sleeping like a baby. She was sleeping so well, right? And this is what I see all the time. I've seen someone who actually had a hard conversation with her mom because her mom was constantly talking to her like about her weight. And she's like, Mom, I don't have a freaking thyroid anymore. It's gone. It's gone. You cannot expect me to lose the weight as fast as you are with a full thyroid. You cannot put that much pressure on me. And so she finally just like put some boundaries down and set that because her mom was constantly just in her ear. And so of course she had all this like stress inside of her. And once she finally had that conversation with her mom, she dropped 2 pant sizes. 2. like so fast, because the amount of stress that it put on her, that she worked through that stress. And then her body is like, huh, you're not on a deserted island anymore. You're in a safe space. Okay, let's do what you want to do, right? Let's get everything back in order. And I hear stories like that all the time. I've had people that pick up photography. This is so cool, right? So she picked up photography, and she also was a thyroid warrior. Most of my clients are. And that's what I keep telling them. I'm like, you can, like, I'll teach you all the amazing like nutrition and foods and stuff like that to eat. But for thyroid like warriors, like, to actually see a lot of changes, it's a lot of the other stuff that you don't want to deal with that needs to be dealt with, right? That's a lot of the processing your anxiety and accepting, hey, I am a person who has anxiety. Okay, I am a person that has anxiety. I'm a person who has extra weight on them. I'm a person who is working on themselves. I am a work in progress. I am learning to love myself. I am so happy that I am on this journey, even though it's hard right now. I am so blessed that I have this opportunity to focus in on myself again, right? So we have to kind of turn this like little like verbiage around in our heads and put it into to work for us. So I hope today was helpful for you to kind of go through and be like, hey, I know my relationship with myself is kind of fractured right now. But the cool thing is that I'm a work in progress. I can improve who I am. I can be confident in who I am and love myself at all these stages, and I will get to where I want to be. But first I need to do all this work first, learn to love myself, learn to do all these things, and then I can kind of move forward. So like I said, I hope this was helpful for you, and just know that you are totally worth it. You are doing a lot of the amazing things that you should be doing. We just gotta keep going, gotta keep finding the things that bring you joy, bring you laughter. Go paint something, go build something, go do a sport that you've always never thought you could do, and do it. Like, go get some rollerblades, go do something other than all this like pressure and focus on yourself. Go freaking have an orgasm. I don't care. Do something that's going to make you feel good about yourself. We need to get more of those endorphins in. We need to get more of those, like, look what I did. I did that. I made that, right? And like that little boost of self-confidence that it gives you. Seriously, go do something else, and find something and tangible. And that way you can be like, I did that. I painted that. I drew that. I built that. I did something, and it doesn't have to be amazing looking, and you can fail at it all the time. You need to, but seriously, like, do something other than just putting so much pressure on yourself. And as you're going through all of this process, the weight will come back off. The relationship with food will be rebuilt. And the trust that you have in yourself and whoever it is that broke the trust can be rebuilt too. It is hard work. But y'all, if we do that hard work initially, it becomes so much easier later on. So y'all have a fantastic, fantastic day. And I will see you next week for another episode of Nutrition's My Life.